Jazzcast Pros.
If you're looking to step into the world of hospitality, make sure that you stay tuned. Heidi is a relationship builder focused on transforming organizational cultures. She's a highly respected, trusted advisor for human resources, organizational effectiveness, and diversity and inclusion. Deeply committed to diversity, social equity, and belonging, she is the franchise owner of Patrice and Associates, a recruiting specializing firm. So make sure that you stay tuned. Season 7 is all about the journey to business ownership. So whether you are a current entrepreneur or thinking about launching your own business, this season is for you. Welcome to Fearless Fridays with Maryann, the podcast to help you get unstuck, heal your inner child, and reshape your future. I am your host, Maryann Rivera-Dannert, and with over 10 years of experience as a coach, author, speaker, and owner of MRD Empowerment Solutions, I use my personal life experience with trauma, healing, and rediscovery as a catalyst for personal growth. My mission is to empower you to discover and unlock your full potential, paving the way to a life marked by freedom and balance. Together, we'll tackle the tough stuff and find the strength within to rise above. And today we have an amazing young lady with us. So let's bring her on and get to know her. Hello, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. So tell us your name and a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, my name is Heidi. I am the owner of the Patrice and Associates franchise. It's a recruiting firm. I'm actually the first Black-owned and woman-owned franchisee in the Boston area. Bought the franchise just about a year ago. And so, like I said, we're a recruiting firm. So the franchise itself makes its bread and butter in the hospitality industry. So we hire managers and C-suite for restaurants, hotels, resorts, things like that. It's my goal this year to kind of move my business into finance and technology, since that's my background. Award-winning and multi-best-selling author.
That's awesome. So how did you get into being a franchise owner, and why a recruiting firm? What made you say yes and step into that?
So I had intended to, during the pandemic, I was talking to my financial advisor about retiring. And I'm not one of those people that can sit around and do nothing. So a franchise coach reached out to me on LinkedIn, and I went through the process for about 6 months. They really vet you to find out what kind of business is best for you. They do like personality tests, all kind of stuff, right? And then he presented me 3 businesses. One of them was leadership development, Patrice and Associates, and another one that's called the Lash Lounge. Now, the Lash Lounge, I immediately said no to leadership development because I know nobody's paying to do for people to do external training for them. I already know that. Lash Lounge was real intriguing to me because all they do is lashes and brows, right? Mm-hmm. I love brows. Don't wear lashes, but I like them. But the more I got into the business, because they let you talk to other franchise owners, it started to stress me out because I realized that it's a brick and mortar. Yeah. So number one, it was very pricey. Number two, I realized I would be in this business at least 7 days a week. I was on a Zoom with one of the franchise owners, and she was talking about how her management staff, she made them sign non-disclosures and non-competes. And I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Right.
And then Patrice and Associates, I'm like, okay, I could do this. All I need is a phone and a laptop, and I can work from anywhere. The cost of entry was low. Lash Lounge would have been upwards of about $400,000.
Wow.
With Patrice and Associates, the entry was low. All I need is a phone and a laptop, and I can work from anywhere.
Right.
And I decided to do it because I thought about my community and how owning the recruiting firm would allow me to put people in my community to work. So that's why I chose it.
And so you mentioned also that you are the first African-American woman to own the franchise, correct?
in Boston.
In Boston. So how has that transition been since you first took it over? Have you faced any obstacles or any challenges?
Absolutely not. In terms of
In
being
terms
a
of getting
employer,
jobs, getting contracts for people to sign on with you?
no. I actually had a client who found me. He did a
Mm,
Google search and found me. So no, I haven't had any issues with, talking to people in terms of clients or, because I recruit all over the country.
yeah.
And so unless I say that I'm the only African American woman owned franchisee in the Boston area, you don't know it.
Okay. Okay. And what has been like your most successful, story that you want to talk about or share when it comes to putting someone on a job? Maybe someone that was lacking, certain skills or lacking confidence that no one else would give a chance to, but you did.
Okay. So the way it works is clients hire us to fill their jobs, right? It's not the other way around. People don't come to me and go, oh, Heidi, I need a job.
Okay.
Although that happens, right? At the end of the day, it's the businesses that pay me to find talented people to fill their jobs. I did have someone reach out to me through a network that I'm a part of, and she sent me her resume, and I looked at her resume and I thought to myself, I don't know what she does.
Oh, wow.
So we got on a call and I said to her, I don't know what you do. And if I don't know what you do,
Right.
I can tell you now that's why you're not getting any interviews.
Mm.
So I gave her some suggestions on how to, revise her resume. And she did that. Last week, she texted me and said, oh my God, Heidi, thank you so much. I took your advice, redid my resume, and I've got 3 interviews lined up.
That's
Right?
awesome.
She wasn't somebody that I had a job for,
Yeah.
but I agreed to take a look at her resume.
Yeah. And that's
And now
awesome.
3 interviews lined up.
Yeah, and that's great because sometimes, especially, I'm in HR, so recruiting, interviewing, all of that stuff. I know exactly what you're talking about. Sometimes we come across these resumes and it's like, what are you thinking?
Like,
But I'm the type that, like you reached out to the individual, I will let the individual know, like, listen, I need you to get a regular email address, your name, last name, initial, favorite color. But some of these email addresses, like, people will automatically remove you from being a candidate. Simple things
I
like that. And
had
they're like, oh,
someone,
yeah,
he was perfect for the job, but his email was something like Funky Fresh 57. Like,
correct.
no. Get
Yes.
rid of the Yahoo ad emails. Nothing against Yahoo,
Hmm.
but create a
Yeah.
Gmail account and make it your name, not Funky Fresh.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Because, first impressions matter. So
Mhm.
from your email handle, from if a recruiter, if this is such a pet peeve of mine, when you're trying to call a potential candidate and their voicemail is not set up,
Yeah,
set up your voicemail, because how is someone supposed to leave you a message?
right.
How you answer the phone, again, also matters a
Exactly.
lot. And then, of course, now you've made it to get to that interview, how you show up to that interview. So there's so
Right.
much to say. So what tips, I know that you're on the other end, but for the potential individual that may be listening that's looking for a job, what are some
Mhm.
tips that you would give them to prepare, to find that job, to get the interview and things like that?
So again, some of the stuff that we're talking about, focus on your resume. I want to know what your accomplishments are, right? I don't care that you filed 50 whatever. I don't care about that. Get to the numbers, right? If you're a numbers person, I want to know how much money did you save the organization? I want to know, how you increase the team, whatever your accomplishments are. That's the stuff I want to know about. The other thing, like we just said, your email handle, setting up your voicemail, the way you answer the phone, and please answer your email. Do you know how many people don't answer their email? Please answer your email. The other thing that I do is I prep people for the interview, right? Because the client will tell me, well, you're going to meet with this person and this person. So in an email, that's why I tell people, answer your email. I'm going to send you an email that has the website to the company, the name of the people you're going to be interviewing with. Look the people up on LinkedIn. Find out what their background is.
Yeah.
Go through their website. Find out something about the company, right? Because guaranteed that interview is going to ask you about what do you know about us?
Correct.
Even the people, when you look at their background, you can start a dialogue. And just remember that the interview is not just about the company interviewing you, but it's about you also interviewing the company so that you can make sure you're a good fit.
Correct. That's so true. And also, I'll add to that, have some questions prepared.
Yes.
Because every interviewer, whether you want to work at McDonald's or you want to work at Google, they are going to ask you, do you have any questions for us? And the worst thing you can possibly do is say, no, I'm all set.
And the way that I set up my questions for my interview is I look at the job description.
Correct. Yes.
Right. Or stuff from the website and ask questions about that. Is this a new role? Why did the other person leave? Things like what keeps you up at night? What's your management style? All of that kind of stuff. Don't ask about salary and benefits. Wrong time to ask about that.
That's so true. Yeah, good questions. So you and I connected through the Nasdaq Entrepreneurial Center milestone program. So what made you, sign up for that program? What was your experience like?
I am a former employee of the sponsor of that program.
Okay.
So I already knew about it, and a few of my friends had gone through it. And I said, you know what? Let me just sign up and see what happens. So my milestone was to create a list of 20 companies that I wanted to reach out to. But I needed help kind of defining what that milestone was. Mm-hmm. So that's the reason that I signed up for the program. And I thought the experience was amazing, right? I like the fact that our group connected, our cohort connected right away.
We did.
And it was suggested to us to create a WhatsApp channel off to the side, because on the Zoom, we would just be going in and like, oh, wait, we only have...
Right.
And even during the program, and since we've graduated, we're still connecting with each other. And for me, even though it helped me with my milestone and get clear about what my mission and my vision was, the connections are so important.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, it's so true. And talking about that Zoom, certain individuals were very quick to, okay, time's up. See you next week.
And they would just drop you. You'd be mid-conversation. Boom, that's it. Bye.
And it's like, can we have like a 10-second buffer here? Because what is happening? Yes, I so agree with you. When I first signed up, I wasn't really sure. I didn't know anything about the program other than someone said, you should do this. It's really great. A lot of networking. And I was like, okay. And I honestly just saw it as, okay, here goes another networking group that you talk about all these things, but nothing happens. But like you said, our group, our circle, we really connected. We hold each other accountable, always checking in. And it's super amazing. I can't really remember what my milestone was. I think it was I wanted to update because I was in the process of rebranding. And I was able to do that because, again, checking in like, hey, how's it going? Do you need any help? And pretty soon we're going to be having a, brain dump session because all of us have. Again,
tomorrow night.
Yes. Yeah. So we're still doing things, so it's really awesome and still, staying connected. And if someone is, feeling really low, reaching out, asking for help. So it goes beyond that professionalism. Yeah. So that's been really great. So you mentioned that you are also an author. So
Yeah.
tell us about your books, the inspiration behind those books, and what made you say yes to that.
So my first book, I didn't mean it to feel like that, right? But my first book is actually my journal.
Mm,
I have been writing my entire life.
wow.
I'm one of those people that don't always have the words to express how I feel. And so I write them.
Mhm.
And so my first book is called Can I Rest a While? It's a collection of poetry that is my life in poetic form. I never intended it for it to be a book. I became a member of a women's writers group here in Boston called Pentimenti Women. And we started sharing around the city, different cafes and stuff like that. And people would ask me, okay, so when's the book coming out? I actually originally copyrighted the book and have the certificate under a different name.
Mm,
And it never felt like it was finished. So I kept writing. And then I wrote the title poem, Can I Rest a While? And when I read that, I wish I had the book in front of me. And when I read that, that's when I noticed the impact that it had on people. I mean, I would look up and women would be in tears.
mm,
And it was at that point that I knew that I had to publish this.
yeah.
And so I did in 2017. In 2018, it won the American Fiction Award.
Wow.
Then after that, I participated in a couple of anthologies. And then in 2021, I started working on a project that really just kind of told some stories around how I've navigated racism and bias in my career. I spent years in financial services, and often I would be the only African American and only African American woman in the room, right? A very white male dominated industry. I became an executive. I worked in London. I ran lines of businesses in the US and the UK. And through those experiences, I've faced a lot of racism,
Mm,
a lot. And as I started writing the stories, I realized, wait a minute, I'm not the only woman that has this same story. So I created an anthology called Black Girl Cry, what
mm,
Black women need to know to amplify their voices. And so from a teenager, I think she was 17 at the time, to six or seven other women shared their stories,
wow.
right? From bias in education, across the board, colorism. The stories are powerful. We hit the Amazon bestseller list that year ahead of Will
Yay.
Smith. He was like number 10, and we were ahead of him on the Amazon bestseller list.
That's awesome.
So,
That's awesome. And that's very powerful that the 17-year-old was able to recognize that something was wrong and was able to share her story, because sometimes, as young adults, teenagers, we hold a lot of things in out of fear
mhm.
of how someone is going to judge us, people are not going to believe us, or things like that, and we just hold all that in. That ends up affecting us as adults.
Her story is the first story in the book.
Mm,
And I did that because I wanted people to read her story first, right? That, and to understand that this young lady went to predominantly white schools. She lives in the suburbs outside of Boston. And the level, at a young age, the level of racism that she experienced from classmates and teachers is absolutely incredible.
And then the sad part about it too is that she's getting it from that side, but then because stereotypes, she may be getting it also from the Black side. Oh, you think you're too good, you think you're this, you're talking proper, you think you're all that because
Right.
you went to this type of school. So she's getting
Mhm.
it all around.
Right. Right. She came to my attention through one of the other co-authors. She's friends with the young lady's dad, and the young lady spoke at her high school graduation, and her message was powerful. And I reached out to her father and said, I need her in the anthology. Her story is incredible.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you are on the Fearless Fridays podcast. How are you living a fearless life?
Oh, let's see. How am I living a fearless life? So, Maryann, I had on a t-shirt a couple of weeks ago and it said, "Watch me lead." Now, I can't take credit for that saying. Some years ago, I signed up for a training with Lisa Nichols, right?
Love her.
Oh, yeah, she's amazing, right? And in one of her sessions, she said, I've got fear in one hand and courage in the other. Now watch me lead. And it hit me. And so, women's ministry, we were doing a conference and we were like, oh, what's the theme? And I said, watch me lead. So we created t-shirts. But my Fearless Friday is this: I just lead. Right? Because for me, if I don't, I'll overthink it. I just leap and I'll figure it out while I'm out here. Because my thought process is, I'm out here now. So you got to figure it out before you hit the ground. The other thing that I recognize is I'm not afraid to fail. I know what failure looks like, and I know how to get up. My thing has been, what if I actually could? Right? And so, again, living my fearless life is just leap.
Yeah. And that's so true that when you said that, if you think about it too much, you'll talk yourself out of it. And the thing is that as women, we have such great intuition, but sometimes we let those little voices, whether it's our own little critic or the voices of other people, whisper louder than our own inner voice and keeps us stuck.
Yeah. And I've been there too. Talked myself out of all kind of things. Like in my heart, there had been something I wanted to do. And I remember I shared it with somebody. And just recently they said, so I wanted to start a podcast, right? And been talking about it for a number of years. And I was listening to them just recently, and they said the name of my podcast. And I'm like, oh, no. So I reached out to a friend, had him create a graphic, right? Put it on my Facebook page, coming soon.
Yeah.
So now it's out there, right? I leaped. So now it's out there. So now I have to do it.
Yeah. And that's so true. And we also have to sometimes be careful who we share our goals and our plans with, because sometimes other people's best intentions are not always the best intentions.
They're not always the best intentions.
Yeah.
I think my Fearless Friday or my Fearless kind of leap also comes from the fact that I'm first generation high school and college graduate, right? I always knew, don't know how, I don't even remember anybody ever telling me that I would be the first to graduate high school and go to college, right? I mean, what do you do with that? Your whole life is planned out for you, right? Go to college, don't know anything, but I grew up in the public housing, right? What do I know about privilege? I don't know anything about privilege. First time I've ever seen it, right? So we learn behaviors in those situations, right? Learn very quickly how to mask, learn all kind of different behaviors to fit in.
Yeah.
And I've never been that kind of a person, and I found myself being that person.
What was one thing that you did to not stay in that situation and not become that person full time all the way?
So one of the things that I did was, and this may sound superficial, is I stopped straightening my hair. And I know that might sound superficial. Oh, okay. But I went natural before natural was a thing. right? Cut my hair all off, did the big chop. And that was the way I decided I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And at first, people were looking because they were used to me with straight hair. I ran my business in London with this little teeny weeny afro. And I think I had my hair colored like some auburn color or something. And if you know anything about London, it's black, brown, navy blue. Here I come,
Yeah.
auburn hair, that much all over my head in a bright red suit.
Mm,
This is me. Look, take it, leave it, don't like it, like it.
I love that.
And it was so liberating, right? It was so liberating.
So how did individuals take that? Like, did you receive a lot of backlash? Was it, oh, okay, here's Heidi?
You know what? Thank God for the manager that I had. He doesn't really know how much he helped me, because I remember asking him before our first trip to London, do I need to straighten my hair? And he said, for what?
Mm.
And that week I went and cut all my hair off. Yeah. He helped me in other ways where my name is on the office door. My name is on the door, right? He called me to make the appointment to speak to me about the product that I have. I'm the one sitting behind the office, and I'm being very intentional about this, right? You come and sit in my office, talk to me. My boss walks in, sits down, and people would turn away from me to talk to him. And he would say, you need to talk to her. She runs the business. I'm here to learn too. I've known him for years. We had worked together previous to this particular role I'm talking about. He helped me in such incredible ways just by standing up for me.
Yeah, I love that. And sometimes it just takes one person to become a partner with you and walk alongside of you.
Exactly.
I love that. So we are in 2024. What are you working on? What are you looking forward to?
I learned something last week. I was in the ATL at a conference, and I learned something to run my entire life in 100 days blocks, right?
Ooh.
So 21 blocks, and then break those blocks into 10-day sprints. So this next 10 days, I'm working on a press release, which I finished. I have a course that I'm going to be teaching. I need to outline it. So I've got a whole bunch of things in this 10-day sprint that I want to accomplish. My goal this year is to start the podcast. It's already in my head about what I wanted to, the format, right? I need to write that out. The other thing I want to do is I want to write a book on grief. My brother died in 2002. And since then, suffered a lot of loss. My pastor died 2019. My stepdad died in 2022. And all of those things have really had an impact on me. And I realized probably end of last year that, you know what, Heidi, you've been grieving for 20 years.
Wow.
And so, working with a therapist and all of that, I really want to write this book. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't have a sense of it yet in my spirit, but that's one of my big goals this year, is to really get it out.
I love that. And thank you for sharing that. So you mentioned that you have several books. Where can individuals purchase copies of these books and connect with you?
So all the books are available on Amazon. So Can I Rest a While is available on Amazon. Black Girl Cry is also available on Amazon. I'm on Facebook quite a bit at Heidi Lewis-Ivey. I'm on Threads, really starting to try and get into Threads. I like Threads. I have an IG account, not on there as much, but definitely you can follow me on Facebook. I'm there all the time.
Awesome. And I'll make sure to go in and find the books and get the actual links and put them on the show notes for our audience. Any last parting words as we wrap up?
Just leap. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for tuning into today's episode. If you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to leave a 5-star review and share with a friend or two. If you're not already following us on social media, come join the Fearless community at MRD Empowerment Solutions on Facebook or Instagram, or visit our website, MaryannRivera-Dannert.com. I'll catch you next week with a new episode, and remember that you are a priority and you matter.